Good morning, Year 3, and welcome to your second maths lesson of the week. Today we're looking at understanding hours because we've just started our new unit of time. Yesterday we looked at months and days in a year, and we looked at the calendar for the first time and understanding how to use a calendar and how many days are in each month and how many days are in a year and how many months are in a year. And today we're looking at how many hours there are in a day and using key vocabulary within this. So to start off, we're going to need to fill in these blanks like yesterday. So there are so many hours in a day. There are so many hours on a clock face, and there are so many days in a week. So this can be really, really important. So you're going to need to put the right number in the right section. Pause the video and have a go. Okay, now you've paused and had a go, let's go through them together. There are 24 hours in a day, and this is probably the most important fact we're going to need to learn today. There are 12 hours on a normal clock face. There are 12 hours on a clock face, and that's not a 24-hour clock, that's a 12-hour clock, which is the normal analog clock. And there are 7 days in a week. So these two here, these top two, are really important that we remember them. There are 24 hours in a day, and there are 12 hours on a clock face. Let's do this together. We need to complete the statements, but to do that we need to remember there are 24 hours in one day. So one day equals 24 hours. So 2 days is going to equal not just one lot of 24 hours, but 2 lots of 24 hours. And if we add them together using column addition, in our 1 section we have 4 add 4, which equals 8 ones. And in our 10 section we have 2 tens add 2 tens, which equals 4 tens. 4 tens equals 40, 8 ones equals 8, so our answer is going to equal 48 hours. Now let's move on to the next one. If we're looking at this next one, how many days are going to equal 240 hours? Well, 1 day equals 24. So how many days are going to equal 240? Let's think of our related facts. I'll give you an example. 1 times 24 equals 24. So what times 24 is going to equal 240? The answer is 10. So 10 days equals 240. Let's pause the video now and see if you can fill in the other 3 blanks. Okay, let's go through them quickly together. We know that 10 days equals 240 hours. So how many days are going to equal just 120 hours? We could do this 2 ways. We could recognise that 240 hours, 120 hours is actually half. And what's half of 10? It's 5 days. Or we could have done 5 lots of 24. So 24 add 24 add 24 add 24 add 24. And we know that if we added all those up, 4 add 4 add 4 add 4 add 4 equals 20. So 0, carry your 2. And then 2 add 2 add 2 add 2 add 2 and add this 2 at the bottom equals 12. 120 would be your answer. For the next one, how many days equals 60 hours? Well, again, if we use the same principle here, that half of 240 is 120, half of 120 is 60. So what's half of 5? Half of 5 is 2 and a half. And then 20 days. Well, if 10 days equals 240, what's 20 days going to equal? It's going to equal 2 lots of 240. What's 0 add 0? 4 add 4 is 8. And 2 add 2 is 4. So that's going to equal 480 hours. Well done if you got those right, because there was some really tricky maths involved. Now we're going to move on to looking at the time on a clock. We're going to start off with the morning. If we're asleep, we're normally asleep at a time called midnight. And midnight is 12 at night time. And if we keep going round on a clock, oh, not that way. If we keep going round on a clock, we come to the morning. And this here would be what we call the early morning. And then we wake up sometime about 6 or 7. So that's what time we wake up. And then at 8 o'clock, maybe a lot of us have our breakfast. And then at 9 o'clock, you normally, where do you go? You go to school. So the morning happens on the first spin of the clock. We know on a clock there are only 12 hours, and in one day there are 24 hours. So actually, the clock has to go round not once but twice to represent a full day, because there are 24 hours in one whole day, so it has to go round once and then twice. The first time it goes round, we come to the morning. The first time it goes round, it is the morning. So it starts at midnight, which is still the night, and that would be called the evening or the night time. So from about 10 to here is what we call night. And that involves midnight, which is the middle of the night and happens at 12 or 12 p.m. And then we come to the morning. If I do morning in a different colour, and the morning goes from 5 and spins all the way around to the 12 again. And in this, it's called the morning, and we have to go to school, we have our breakfast, we wake up, we might have 11 o'clock, we might have our break time. And then the second spin of the clock, we come to the afternoon and evening. So we start at 12 again, but this time it's not midnight, it's called midday, because it's in the day. So, and from 12, this spin here is what we call the afternoon. And in the afternoon, you might have your lunch around 1. You might be doing some learning journey. You've just finished school. You might go home with your parents at this time, between 3 and 6. And then this next spin is called the evening. And in this time you might go home, have your tea, watch telly. So these are all key terms we have to use. If we're looking at a clock, we might start at 12 at midnight, and this is the night time, and this ranges from about 9 till 3 or 4, and that's the night time. And then we have the morning, which comes from 5 till 12, and this is on our first spin. This is our first spin. We have our morning. And then when we go into the second spin of the clock, because we have 24 hours in a day, that's when we have midday, and we have the afternoon, and then finally we have the evening. So knowing this, we now need to use that knowledge to put these times and events in the correct place on a diagram. So let's start off. Breakfast. Would our breakfast be on the first spin of a clock or the second spin of a clock? Well, actually, we know that breakfast happens in the... That's right, breakfast happens in the morning. So we know that it'll be on the first spin of a clock, and we're going to put it under morning. Next, we know we're going to draw an arrow from breakfast to morning. Next, we're going to have a look at midnight. Well, the clue is in the name. Night suggests that midnight happens at night. When did midday happen? Or is it? It's not on our first spin of the clock. It's on our second. So midday would probably happen just at the start of the, if you look at my spiral here, the afternoon. So we'd obviously draw midday to afternoon. Can you fill in the rest now? Okay, let's go through the rest. Go to school. Well, that would happen in the morning. Supper would happen probably in the evening. That's when we said we'd have our tea. Bedtime would happen at night. Assembly, well, that happens actually in the morning. And brushing our teeth would happen in the evening. Using the knowledge we've just learnt about how many hours are in a day, and our first look of looking at the clock, please go and answer the worksheets. Good luck.